Once again, this movie makes me feel like I'm missing out on college with all the college parties and even more college parties. Like shit, man, college is expensive. Like no joke, kids, college is not free. Okay, so Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising. So Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising continues the story of the Radner family, and during the process of going through another life-changing experience, which includes selling their house and having another baby, everything seems to be going according to plan. That is until they find out that they're going through an escrow with their house, so they have to wait 30 days until the buyer actually confirms that they want to move into the neighborhood. But while that's going on, a sorority hellbent to throw the hugest parties ever moves next door to the old abandoned frat house, which causes major trouble in them possibly selling their house. Now, as the parties begin to get crazier and the Radner family worrying and becoming financially in debt, they turn to a former neighbor to get the sorority out of the neighborhood. But this new sorority also have plans of their own, which include standing their ground. Now, obviously, this is a sequel to the first Neighbors, which to this day, I still really like it being a raunch comedy that you can watch with all your friends or something. Personally, for me, it's one of those kickback movies if your friends want to have a laugh or you want to have a movie going on in the background while you and your friends drink. It's a really suitable movie for that. But I don't recall someone ever asking the question, you know what we need a sequel to? Neighbors, with Seth Rogen and Zac Efron and anybody else they can bring on. No one's ever asked that question. This is the kind of movie that nobody has really asked for a sequel, but the studio made it anyway because money, and I paid for it, and here we are now. Which deep down, I'm glad that they made Neighbors 2. I had a really fun time with that. Because first and foremost, the casting. Because just like in the first one, most gave a very solid comedic performance that kept me and the audience laughing almost all the way through, at least from what I experienced. You got Seth Rogen as the lead character, which some can argue that he's almost typecast in these certain roles in comedy movies. But the thing with that is that he's extremely funny and it pays off in the end. He's really talented at what he does and he shows that again in Neighbors 2. Then you got Rose Byrne, who kind of gives that awkward side to comedy, which it's intentionally supposed to be like really bad timing, where some works and some doesn't, and she was really good in the movie. Zac Efron was really great in this movie, surprisingly. He shows how much range he can have with both comedy and drama. Sometimes those two can be really hard to balance out, but just like with Seth Rogen, they found a way to keep the ball rolling, either if it's by themselves or they're both on screen. It worked again in Neighbors 2. And now we have the new characters with Chloe Grace Moretz, Kiersey Clemens, and the other girl I don't recognize. I'll get back to them shortly. But ultimately, Neighbors 2 is an extremely energetic movie from beginning to end because not only did it provide serviceable comedy, but it also had some very deep character elements in there. Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne are a bit worried if they can be really good parents since they're having another child. Zac Efron, he wants to feel valued in the world. And even the sorority, through their constant parties, they want to be in a world where they don't feel sexually oppressed by the other dudes around them, such as the fraternities. You see, things like this that makes a comedy more than just a comedy, and them going the extra mile and making these certain plot points work in the movie, I have to give points to that. However, just because you have those character elements in there doesn't entirely mean that you can completely get behind these characters. Mostly for me was the sorority because they want to throw parties and apparently sororities can't throw their own parties, so they're like, screw that shit, we're gonna start our own sorority so we can throw parties. But Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne are trying to sell their house as they're going through this escrow, so they try to reason with these girls and they're like, hey, girls, just please, 30 days, that's all we need, and then we'll be out of your hair for good, and you can throw all the parties you want. Then Chloe Grace Moretz's character sends the middle finger emoji, and then she does every possible way to screw this couple financially, so immediately you hate this sorority. I mean, there was a scene where, this is kind of like going into spoiler territory, so like skip ahead a few seconds so you don't hear it. They go into their house, they do a home invasion, and they take all their stuff and sell it on their front porch, and the couple doesn't do jack shit about it. I mean, they have all the evidence to prove to send these girls to jail with seriously 3 charges on their criminal records, whereas the sorority, they don't have any evidence to prove since the couple kind of burned all their evidence. Just call the cops and the sorority will be off your hands. It's just these little illogical things that affect the movie for me. Not to mention, the sorority's comedy got a little bit stale after a while since most of their jokes revolved around sexism and how it's messed up on how guys function. First couple times, it was really funny. I was like, yeah, that is true. You got me there, Chloe Grace. But literally, that's all their jokes were. And it's not even the sexism jokes, but it's just with any joke in the world. If you keep saying the same thing over and over, it doesn't become funny anymore. It's like, fuck, I get it. Guys are sexist. Like, do you have any jokes in this comedy? I guess you don't. The thing is, they take up a lot of screen time too. So if it's the rinse and repeat thing with their sexism jokes, then I don't know, it just doesn't become funny anymore. I know it sounds like I completely bitch about the movie, but it doesn't take away the overall fun time and it being funny. It's not as good as the first Neighbors, but I will say, if you want to see Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising, it is worth seeing at the matinee price at best. Now I'm waiting for Neighbors 3, the beginning of the Neighbors cinematic universe. So anyway guys, have you seen Neighbors 2, and what did you think about it? And what is your favorite Seth Rogen comedy? That's the question that we're going with today. Whatever your thoughts are, leave them down below, and as always, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all that social media shit down below. Keep in contact with me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as always, may the Force be with you.